Aloha beaches and welcome to a new video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Scott. I'm a Detroit-based flight attendant that lives on the island of Maui in the state of Hawaii. Yes, I do still live in Hawaii, yet I'm based and work out of Detroit. It may sound crazy to commute that far, but I'm making it work and I absolutely love the job. I love being a flight attendant and it's definitely worth it to me. In this video, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my journey of becoming a flight attendant, because it definitely was not an easy one. I mentioned that to my loyal subscribers in the previous video, and I know some of you have been anxiously awaiting this video to hear about my journey. To those of you that might not be an aspiring flight attendant, I do know that, maybe my story might not pertain to you exactly, you might not be able to relate to it exactly, but for anyone that has a dream and has aspirations, whatever it may be, I encourage you to listen to my story because it might inspire you, and my story has a little bit of a message to it in the end. My journey as a flight attendant really began around 2014. I mean, even before that, as a kid, I had always been obsessed with airplanes and traveling. I thought it would be the coolest thing to travel and see the world. I was always, every time we'd fly somewhere, anywhere, I'd be all excited about where we were flying to and the airplane itself. And even when I was going into high school, there was a brief period of time where I had this dream that I would maybe join the Air Force Academy and maybe become a pilot or something like that. As soon as I graduated high school, I ended up going into the nursing field. My sister's a registered nurse and she's who inspired me to go into healthcare. I love the idea of helping people and making a difference, so that's what I ended up doing. And I became a nursing assistant and ended up getting further training in emergency medicine, where I ended up working as an emergency room tech and eventually a trauma tech, which was a great experience. I have no regrets whatsoever. But by 2014, I had been doing the job for about 9 years, and I was definitely starting to feel burnt out. And I knew deep in my heart that going further into nursing or further into healthcare just wasn't for me. There was times where I would try and go back to school to maybe pursue my registered nursing degree, but my heart wasn't in it. In 2014, my dear mother-in-law passed away. She had suffered a fairly long-term illness, and having worked in the healthcare field, I've encountered death and dying quite a bit. And before she passed, like most people before they die, they talk about the different regrets they have in life. And Mama Barb, shout out to you, Mama Barb, before she passed, she told me and my partner James that she regretted not traveling and seeing the world. She especially wanted to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, because that's where she grew up and she wanted to see it one more time. And she asked us to travel and see the world for her, and she would be with us on every adventure. And it was that moment that I realized that life is too short to live with regrets. I didn't want to end up growing old and constantly question, what if I did this or what if I did that? And traveling and seeing the world and being a flight attendant or even a pilot was, something that I'd always thought about, and I thought, how cool would that be? And that's when I was inspired to, what? Life is too short to live with regret. If I want to be a flight attendant, I gotta do it. And not just for Mama Barb, but for myself. I at the time I thought, maybe I would be a flight attendant, and what if I found out that it wasn't for me? But I would rather that happen than not become a flight attendant at all, and later in life question, well, what if I at least had tried? So then in 2014, after Mama Barb passed, and I decided, being a flight attendant, that's what I want to do. I want to do this. So I started to do my research. I started looking into what I needed to do to become a flight attendant. I networked with other flight attendants and asked them, what are options for me to achieve this goal? And in my research, I did discover that there are schools out there that will train you to be a flight attendant, or at least train you to better prepare you to getting a job as a flight attendant. And in my networking with other flight attendants, I found a lot of flight attendants recommended to me to not pursue that route, to actually apply directly to the airlines, because the airlines will put you through their training program. and you will be guaranteed a job after you successfully pass the training program. And plus, going to one of those schools that'll train you to be a flight attendant, you have to pay for that, and then there's no necessarily guarantee that you'll get a job, but once you do get a job, you just have to go through all that training all over again. So it just made sense to me what some of the flight attendants were telling me, to just apply directly to the airlines. And then also, with my research and networking, I found out that most airlines, when you're in training, will not pay you for it. And also, usually the first year as a flight attendant, you're not making the most money because you're on reserve or on call, and so you're not making a whole lot of money. So I knew that I needed to make sure I had a good amount of money saved up. I had to be prepared for the fact that I wasn't going to get paid for however long the training was. So I wanted to make sure I was prepared to be successful going into this new career as a flight attendant. So I ended up working and for the rest of 2014, saved up some money, and by the end of 2014 I decided, okay, let me go ahead and try and apply. So I applied to a few major airlines, and now when I list these airlines, this is just my experience. I have no opinions whatsoever towards these airlines. They're all great companies, so if you are an aspiring flight attendant or what have you, nothing negative about these airlines. But I applied to the major ones like United, Delta, American. I also applied to Alaska and Virgin America. Virgin and United were kind of the front runners on my list just because they had big bases in San Francisco, which is where I was living at the time, and I would have really liked to have been based where I was living. It makes sense, right? So anyways, I applied at the end of 2014 for these airlines, and a couple of them responded back and a couple of them did not, but the ones that did respond back turned me down, unfortunately. And when they turn you down, for the most part, they ask you to wait 6 months to apply again. So I thought, okay, that's okay. This was the first time I tried. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe I need to work a little more and save a little more money. Okay, that's fine. So then 6 months passes, and it was about the late springtime of 2015 when it was time for me again to be okay to apply again. So I applied to all the major ones again, same airlines, and unfortunately shortly thereafter I was turned down yet again. I thought, okay. And I didn't get discouraged, but I thought I'd be a front runner because I had all this experience in healthcare, and I know that they're looking for customer service, but in the healthcare field there's a strong aspect of customer service. But flight attendants also deal with medical emergencies a lot, so I definitely thought I'd be a front runner. But I thought, okay, I got turned down again, that's all right. Moving on, right? So those of you that are my loyal subscribers, you would know that in the summer of 2015, James and I took a nice trip to Maui. And you probably saw my Maui vlogs. I'll link some of them below for those of you that haven't seen them. But we took a nice trip to Maui where we fell in love with the island, with the people, with the culture, and and we had traveled a lot up to that point, and there was a lot of places that we went to where we explored and said to ourselves, oh, we could see ourselves living here. This is a great place. But Maui was the one place that we went to where we looked at each other and we said, you know what, this is home, this is it. And we knew we didn't want to settle in California, we wanted to start a new life somewhere else. And I used to always say to James, I can see us living on an island somewhere, and it was just so funny that we ended up going to Maui and just fell in love with it, and we wanted to make that home. So we did everything. Once we went back to San Francisco, we focused on that dream and focused on moving to Maui and starting a life there. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how does this flight attendant dream, how can I make that work, with this new dream and this move, So I did a little research, and I found Hawaiian Airlines, and I found that they have a training program in Honolulu, and that they are occasionally looking for flight attendants to fill those training classes. So I thought, okay, that's it. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna move to Hawaii. I'm gonna go with Hawaiian. This is how it's gonna happen. So then we moved to Hawaii, in February of 2016. By the end of 2016, I did see that Hawaiian Airlines was recruiting for flight attendants and to fill their roster for a training program for the beginning of 2017. So I went ahead and applied. You know, I thought, what the heck? Unfortunately, I was turned down. Okay, you know, I've been down this road before. I'm not going to give up. You know, maybe it's just not the right time. Again, we had just moved to Hawaii several months ago. Could use a little more time to work and save some more money and things like that. So Hawaiian, like all the other airlines, required that you wait 6 months after being rejected to apply again. So 6 months later, in early 2017, I went ahead and applied, and I finally got invited to an interview in Honolulu. And so I was excited. Yay! I'm finally seeing some progress here and to pursue this dream, right? So I went to the interview. I didn't know what to expect. It was my very first time going to a flight attendant interview. And, you know, I knew I needed to at least look the part, wear business attire, so I wore a shirt and a tie and slacks, and I went there and I felt confident, and I felt like the interview went really well. Of course, I was really nervous. The first part of the interview was a panel, and there was a girl sitting next to me, and I was slightly nervous, and I remember her nudging me, and she just kind of went like with a big smile, and I realized, oh, I'm not smiling, so, you know, so I smiled, and other than that, I felt like I did a good job at the interview, despite being a little nervous. But a couple days later, I received an email where they turned me down, unfortunately. Okay, have to wait another 6 months to apply again. Okay. And I thought to myself, well, this was the very first time I went to an interview, with any flight attendant interview. So in 6 months, I'll apply again. I know, and if I get invited again, I'll know what to expect at the interview. I know what to do differently if I need to. So in November 2017, after the 6 months had passed, it was that time again that I could apply. And sure enough, they were recruiting and they were accepting applications. And at the time, I had actually lost my job, and I was out of a job, and I obviously needed a job. And so I figured, you know what? The stars seem to be aligning right now. You know, I need a job. I want to be a flight attendant. They're recruiting. I'm going to apply, and we'll go from there, right? So then they did invite me for another interview, and I thought, great, oh, perfect, this is great. This is it. The stars are aligning, I need this job, I want to be a flight attendant, now is the time. And I went to that interview, I knew what to expect. The first time I went, like I said, I wore a shirt and a tie and nice slacks, but I noticed everyone at that interview were all in business suits. Men and women were in business suits. So I thought, okay, this time I'm gonna show up to this interview, I'm gonna be in a business suit. I invested in a nice business suit. I went to the interview, I felt so confident, I thought I nailed it. A couple days later after the interview, I got an email and they rejected me. Oh, you guys, I can't even tell you. For probably a good week or two after that rejection, I was in such a deep, deep hole of depression. Because, you know, I knew this was the dream I wanted, and I was doing everything I could to pursue it, and I just didn't know what I was doing wrong. You know, why was I getting rejected? What is the universe telling me here? So after that, you know, I knew I needed a job. I knew I wanted to be a flight attendant. Hawaiian obviously turned me down. I don't have 6 months to wait. So I thought, you know what? Let me look at what other airlines are hiring. If I need to venture off of Hawaii to pursue this dream, so be it. So then I looked into what airlines were hiring at the time, and it turned out all the major ones were hiring. There was Delta, American, United, Alaska was hiring, and so was Southwest and JetBlue. So I applied to all of them. And not long after, I was invited to do video interviews for American, Delta, and United. And I thought, oh, great, I'm seeing progress here. I'm gonna achieve this goal. I'm gonna be a flight attendant. I'm gonna get wings on me if it kills me. And I did those video interviews, and I felt like I did great on all of them. Not long after, I heard back from American, who rejected me and said to wait 6 months, unfortunately. United also turned me down. Then I received a notice from Delta, who invited me to now do a phone interview. And I thought, okay, great, awesome, let's do it. And after the phone interview, not long after, I was invited to an in-person interview in Atlanta, and they were going to fly me into Atlanta to interview there with other potential candidates. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what's been preparing me this whole time for. Maybe Delta's the one. It's a big mainline company. They fly practically everywhere in the world, and it would be such an honor to work for such a big and prestigious company as Delta. So I went to the in-person interview in Atlanta. I met some incredible people. Everyone was so amazing, and I was surprised that, we didn't all get the job, really. But normally in Delta interviews, so many people are asked to stay and are offered a contingent job offer. Those of us that weren't offered a job offer right away were dismissed. We were told that we would be contacted in several business days by email to let us know yes or no, and that was that. And they sent us on our way. When I boarded the shuttle bus to leave after not being given a job offer on the spot that day, some people were shocked to see me, and they even said, "Oh my God, Scott, we thought if anyone was going to get a job offer today, it was going to be you." And I was so flattered by that. I said, "Oh, I appreciate you guys saying that, but unfortunately I wasn't offered a job offer today." So I went back to Hawaii, and sure enough, in several days, I received the email from Delta, and of course, throughout those days, I was anxiously awaiting. I was constantly checking my email. I just couldn't wait to hear back. I just knew this was the one. I nailed the interview. I was going to get this job. I was so excited. Well, on Valentine's Day of 2018, I finally received the email. And unfortunately, they turned me down. Oh, guys, I was just so bummed. I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. And I will say that I kind of found my way back into that hole of depression, but only for maybe about 6 hours, because that same day I said to myself, "No, Scott, no, we're not going back down this hole. You can't give up. You can't allow yourself to feel discouraged." And I refused to allow myself to feel that way. So then I told myself I'm just going to have to try a different route. So that's what got me looking into regional companies. Regional companies that contract with these big companies. Yeah, they do shorter flights and smaller aircraft, but maybe what is working against me from getting hired with these big companies is my lack of airline experience. So I thought, okay, let me look into the regional companies. I found quite a few regional companies that were hiring, and I found one in particular that I was really drawn to. So I applied to them, and I applied to a couple others, and I come to discover that this one particular company that I was drawn to, and I'm not going to say the company's name just because I work for them now. So obviously I did get the job, but I don't want to say the company just because the policy with my company is that we can say that we work for them, but we have to at least say that our opinions do not reflect on the company, and we're not supposed to video ourselves in public on the job in uniform. As long as I'm here in private in a hotel or at home, it's fine that I'm filming right now in uniform. But I just choose not to say the company I work for. But anyway, now going back. So I found out that this company, all you need to do is submit an application online, and you show up to one of their open interview dates, because their interview process is an open interview where anybody that's interested can just show up and go from there. So I discovered that the company was holding an open interview in Salt Lake City, and I actually had family in Salt Lake City, so I thought, oh, that's perfect. I can go to Salt Lake City, I'll see some of my family and stay with them there, and go to this interview. I went to the interview, and let me tell you, when I saw the flight attendants and the recruiters there and saw how they worked with each other and listened to their testimonials on the company and all the information that they gave us, and I thought, oh, I have to work for this company. I loved their core values. I loved how they have kind of a family atmosphere among themselves, among their coworkers, and I could see it at the interview process and see how those recruiters and flight attendants interacted with each other, and I thought, okay, this is the company for me. And what they have you do, and they have everybody that showed up to stand in front of the auditorium or whatever, the conference room or wherever they're holding it, to stand up there and give about approximately a 1-minute speech on why you would make a great flight attendant. And after you do that, after they get through everybody, then they later in the evening post a list of names of people they want to do one-to-one individual interviews. And I went up, I did my speech, I listened to all the other people that did their speech, and met some incredible people, just like I did at the Delta interview. And later in the evening, when they posted the list of names, I think there was about 60 people that showed up roughly to the open interview. They had maybe a list of a dozen names of people they wanted to stay and do a one-to-one, and my name was on the list. And I stayed and I did my one-to-one interview, and I swear I nailed it. And I know I say that a lot, but no, that interview, oh, I completely nailed it. I felt like all the other interviews I did prepared me for this interview. And they told me that within 7 business days or so, I should receive an email. Now, that interview was around the end of February, I believe. It was probably mid to end of February of 2018. And I was told in about 7 business days I would be contacted of whether it's a yes or no. And probably, I believe it was around the 1st of March, maybe give or take a couple of days, that I received an email that said that they would like to invite me to training that was going to begin at the end of March. And I finally got my job offer to be a flight attendant. I was just so ecstatic, you guys. After all this time, all this effort, I finally got the job offer. I was finally invited to training. And the training itself was brutal. It was about 5 weeks. There was a lot of information, a lot to be covered. And any day that I might have struggled in training, either I was just really tired and it was hard to focus, or maybe I was struggling with an exam. Anytime I really struggled in training, I thought and reflected to myself of the struggle it took for me just to get there. And you know, I had no doubt in my mind I was not going to give up or anything like that, but anytime that I was just really struggling and I thought, oh, what did I get myself into? No. You worked hard to get here. You're going to successfully pass this training. You're going to be a flight attendant. You're going to get your wings. And on April 27th of 2018, that's what I did. It's right here. I got my wings, you guys. And let me tell you, I'm trying not to tear up right now. But getting pinned my wings, knowing the struggle that I went through to get there, the moment I got my wings pinned, I was almost just an emotional wreck, just knowing the struggle that it took me to get there. To 2014 to 2018, 3 to 4 years of like on and off pursuing this dream, and I finally made it happen. And like I said, I never, in all those times that I was rejected, I never allowed myself to feel discouraged. I never allowed myself to give up. And I just kept pushing for it, and I kept fighting for it, and I made it happen. And for any of you that have a dream, whatever it could be, whether you're an aspiring flight attendant, or you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to go to outer space, whatever that dream may be, pursue it. Don't give up on your dream, because at the end of the day, any dream any person has, any aspiration you might have, is absolutely 100% absolutely achievable. You just have to pursue it, and you just can't give up. Look at me. I kept pushing for it, and now I'm working the job that I've wanted for so long, and I love it. I love every minute of it. Yes, I may only have been a flight attendant for a couple months now, but every day that I go to work, I absolutely love it. I don't think I'll ever stop loving it, honestly. I did say earlier that I was concerned that maybe I'd be a flight attendant and discover that it wasn't for me. And I can tell you right now, no, this is definitely for me. I was definitely cut out to be a flight attendant, and I'm so happy and I enjoy every minute of it. There's a saying out there that says, find something that you love to do and you will never work a day in your life. And honestly, I go to work, it doesn't feel like work. I feel like I'm doing what I love. And so that's my story, guys, and I hope you enjoyed my story, and I hope you are inspired by it, and I hope that if you have any dream, whatever it may be, pursue it. Don't give up. Fight for it. No matter how long it takes, it may take you may get lucky, and if you're an aspiring flight attendant, you may get lucky and be offered a job on your first interview, or whatever dream it may be. It may take you months, weeks, years from now. Look at me, it took me a few years, but I got there. So just don't give up, and you'll get there, and you'll be living your dream. And so I hope you guys enjoyed my story. If you liked it, please give my video a thumbs up. Please comment below what you think, and let me know if you do have any dream, whatever it may be, what you may aspire to be. And I encourage you to pursue it. And maybe if you see this years from now, go back and comment and let me know if you were successful or not. Or maybe you have successfully accomplished whatever dream it is. Please share below. Let me know a little bit about your story. It's an honor to open up to you guys and let you know my story. I'd love to hear yours. Again, thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Aloha!